when it comes to this movie, one of the true champions of this film, you go look up the reviews from the time, and there's one guy out there, and he gives it a thumb, but it's Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
he gives 2 thumbs up for this one, right? Drive-by movies here. You're watching Direct to Dumpster. My name's Blaise.
And I'm James.
This week, we're talking Stephen King. It comes out shortly, and we are watching Silver Bullet. This movie is directed by Daniel Attias.
Starring, really cool, was Gary Busey, Corey Haim, and Megan Follows.
So lately, I've just been on, thinking about werewolves, just being kind of obsessed, thinking about them, damn, they kind of disappeared. The Wolfman is obviously the most iconic werewolf film of all time, but where have werewolves gone? We've got, maybe Twilight ruined it for us by throwing them in the mix, but not really being about them. But I feel vampires kind of never really left. The zombies just won't die.
Right.
But these werewolves, they've disappeared.
And everyone says, well, it's because no movie has ever come close to American Werewolf in London. I'm like, well, has any movie ever tried to be like American Werewolf in London? Not saying remake it or do a similar story, but name any movie that's come out since that movie. We have Silver Bullet, American Werewolf in Paris, a few indie movies that might have been popular, but
you have The Howling, but that's before, right?
I think that was late 80s. Or wait, no, this movie came out in 85. They're around the same time, essentially. Maybe some cult movies, but there's never been a movie that actually tried to be a legitimate, serious movie, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Besides thinking about just werewolves, the other thing that was on my mind really when picking this movie out was, all right, Stephen King, we all know the classic Stephen King's. All right, it's whether the original TV movie is good or not, that's still at the top of the conversation. You have these new movies that are coming out that people really enjoy. Some of his other movies, The Shining, that's going to stand up there. Stanley Kubrick's, that'll always be up there with maybe not the best adaptation, but it stands up there as, it's a Kubrick movie and it's based on Stephen King's own work. Even if Stephen King does not like the film,
right?
People are always going to look at that when you think Stephen King. Some of his other films and movies and stuff that he's done hasn't quite hit those heights, but they are talked about.
Yeah.
When I think about Silver Bullet, it's me accidentally stumbling upon it and thinking, wait, why doesn't anyone ever talk about this movie?
Yeah.
You always know Silver Bullet when you think Stephen King, but you don't think about the movie.
Yeah.
It's,
And it's beyond being watchable, actually. I fucking enjoyed this movie. It's not perfect by any means, but 85, this is a solid werewolf movie, I'd say. And I can see why it's not critics' favorite movie or anything, but
I think there was a lot of stuff in the 80s horror stuff, and this definitely doesn't hit the heights that a lot of that other stuff might have or might not have, but it's not really bad to where it's good, and it's not really good to where it's bad. But for when it comes to me, if it's just has some of that nostalgia and 80s vibes at least, and I haven't seen it yet because I've seen all the other stuff, I can appreciate it at least for that. You know?
It definitely brought back proper nostalgia for me also, from the Goonies and stuff. I know that Movies like It and Stranger Things are all going for that, but this just felt a lot more natural, just because I feel it's
authentic.
Exactly.
It's not like we're Stranger Things, and I liked the new season of Stranger Things.
Really?
I hated season 2. I actually really enjoyed season 3. There's some things I didn't like, but I thought that season 3 was trying to be a little bit more of its own thing, and focusing on certain. I think when Stranger Things focus on certain movies and genres that it wants to explore in a season, instead of just trying to be an amalgamation of everything, but truly nothing at the same time, that's when it excels. But when it comes to this movie, like you're saying, it's authentic. It's actually from the time period. They aren't trying to rip off other things. If anything, they're mainly going for an older vibe. I feel like a lot of Stephen King stuff kind of looks at that Stand By Me, and even has vibes of the 50s. I know this movie doesn't take place then, but it just has some of those small town vibes,
because small towns, I think, just in general, are stuck in the 50s. They never left the 50s.
Kind of. I feel like that's the vibe that you get in a lot of Stephen King works when it's about a small town in Maine or whatever. But when it comes to this movie, one of the true champions of this film. You go look up the reviews from the time, and there's one guy out there, and he gives it a thumb, but it's Roger Ebert. He gives 2 thumbs up for this one, right? Yeah. Or maybe it's just 1 thumb.
It's
is the combination
the
of
show came out,
Roger and Ebert, is that the combination of the 2 thumbs, or does a singular reviewer give up 2 thumbs themselves?
Him at the time is just a singular thumb.
Okay, a singular thumb.
It was Gene Siskel who was that other thumb.
And you know Gene Siskel didn't give this shit a thumb.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
He's notorious for not liking horror movies, but are actually vividly hating them and blaming them for a lot of stuff that happened at the time. And I think he'd be talking about that currently if he was still alive. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, anyways. But getting on to other things, I mean, Roger Ebert loved this movie. He said it, you know, it had a lot of like parody to other films at the time and things that he enjoyed.
Yeah.
I can kind of see what he liked, but for me, maybe you, it's like, it's the authenticity of this film that makes it more fun.
It's not taking itself too seriously, and like I like the small town lore of just like boy cried wolf, but like everyone's like, get out of here, kid, a werewolf. People are getting ripped to shreds and pieces, but it's definitely not a werewolf. Yeah.
And you know, kind of piggybacking off of that, the werewolf that's tearing people to shreds isn't even eating anyone. Usually when you think of werewolves, you think that they don't have any sentience or remembrance. It's like a drunk haze or stupor that they're in, and they all the animalistic instincts take part, and they're just doing it to feed. Yeah. This werewolf is not feeding on anyone. He's just clawing people up.
Yeah, I mean, going into the plot, it's almost like as if it's more of a murderer werewolf, like it's out just on a serial killing spree. And what's cool about so this movie, it's just about like around Halloween time in October. Just one night out of nowhere, there's a deadly, horrific attack and on a town drunk, and the town is like, what did this? But it was probably an accident. But then it continues like each night, like here on out and stuff. And it's a small town, so word of mouth is spreading like crazy. Everyone wants revenge and stuff when a little kid is taken away, and cops don't know what to do, and there's a creepy priest in the background of this. It's, I mean, spoiler for a movie that's over 30 years old. Shit.
It could also be over 20 years old if it's over 30 years.
That's true, yeah.
To give you the benefit of the doubt.
But then, we just have Corey Haim and his sister, Megan follows. They're just trying to figure out what's going on. That's what makes this movie so fun. And then Gary Busey is just the weird fun uncle who like gets tied down into this, and they're just trying to solve what is this murder, and then they figure out like it's a werewolf. Yeah. I
mean, am I the only one that felt like Gary Busey would have made a great dad with his performance?
Yeah. I thought he was at first I thought he was like a divorced dad, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the dad who likes to have a beer with his son, even though his kid's not drinking, but and just like comes by as fun as heck, but then he's still drunk and leaves and stuff.
Hey, when he got talked to though, he did tone it down.
Yeah.
Like he kept drinking wild turkey at the dinner table, but then when he had a talking to about like, hey, I don't want you to be drinking around the kids, like he toned that down a lot. Actually. He did. Yeah. So you got to respect that.
Yeah. He was a likable character. Yeah. Everyone actually in this movie is pretty likable.
Yeah. I think if you're not going to enjoy this movie, it's not about the performances or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't hit the highs that a lot of other movies that you would really enjoy hit. But for us, it's like this is on direct to dumpster. You don't ever hear anyone talk about Silver Bullet, so I'm not expecting it to be the best film ever made. I was just pleasantly surprised about it. Was pretty enjoyable. It has vibes of like a Scooby-Doo movie almost.
Oh my god.
Or like a Hardy Boys mystery.
Oh yeah, going into that. I mean, Everett McGill, if you don't know who he is, he's awesome. He plays the awesome Ed in Twin Peaks, and he's essentially the movie villain. He's just the priest who doesn't want people to harm others and stuff. Like, oh, what a good guy. Then you realize that he's actually sinister. He is the werewolf of the movie, and it's really cool to see.
The only thing I would say that I didn't particularly understand why was just Everett McGill's character. The priest, why is... Like, it kind of makes sense. He's stopping people. He doesn't want them to get killed. Like, he didn't want them to create an angry mob and go out to kill the werewolf because that's him, you know?
Well, he sees himself as the weird jury and judge of the town, though, too, essentially. Because he's saying, he says he saved that woman at the beginning because she was, suicidal, I guess. And
he saved her soul, you know?
That's the ultimate sin, he says. So he says, by me taking away her life, that saved her. And then the town drunk and stuff.
Yeah, but that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
The town drunk, did he really save him?
Yeah,
Not
really.
And he's not feeding off anyone, so
but he's the one that everyone hates, I guess. Yeah,
he's the judge, jury, and executioner. But there are a lot of people that he just killed for no apparent reason.
Well, I guess all those people though were trying to harm a living person or animal or something, so that's why he could.
Yeah, but he could have just not showed up there if he knew. Okay, so he knows they're going out to kill him or to attack the werewolf. What? So he has that knowledge. Why did he just not go over there?
That's true.
And they wouldn't have found anyone, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that doesn't make sense, unless he was very vindictive, which it seems is the case. That he's like, oh, you guys are gonna go out and kill me? Oh, well, fine then. Gloves off. We're taking the peacemaker to this one. Yeah. You know. So that's the only thing that didn't his character like decisions. But I think you're right. I think he's the judge, jury, and executioner, and he is very human. He's not really a holy man because he's very vindictive. He wants revenge on Corey Haim for hurting him.
And speaking of when you brought up Scooby-Doo, just like he actually brought up like you meddling kid.
I thought that was a hilarious line. So that obviously gives that throwback as Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna find this in the dumpster, I think this is a great find. The dumpster, also known as Amazon Prime, because it's up there. There's a lot of great movies on there. But yeah, I recommend checking this out. It's a lot of fun. Like, it reminded me of one of those old creepy comics or EC comics with a werewolf.
Right.
It's a very classical werewolf. The design, maybe not the best.
Yeah, it's good, but when it's shown in quick shots, but like when it's focused too much, just
the body proportions weren't. They were weird.
Yeah.
I felt like he was like super buff. Like, I don't know. They're just not the best werewolf design. But that was behind the scenes. That was a huge part of a lot of the fighting behind the scenes, and like why this movie had a lot of issues. Don Coscarelli was actually originally supposed to direct this film. He dropped out for Dan Adius, but he did some of the previous scene. I thought it would be so much cooler as a Don Coscarelli film with all his work in The Phantasm. Like, I think Dan Adius did a great job, but I think Don Coscarelli like really proves like he can tell a story like about these children having this kind of like mystery that they're trying to solve in the Phantasm series.
Yeah, that was one of the better parts of those movies, I thought. Yeah. This movie, honestly, I recommend like highly. It was so much fun watching. I know it's a movie that probably a lot of people have heard of. Maybe you've seen it, but I feel like most people don't talk about it and like know about it. It's on their radar, but have never checked it out. Check it out while Stephen King is hot right now. I'm sure we are going to get a remake soon. And yeah, werewolves, like I want werewolf movies to come back. Like, where are you guys? These are cool. And this is definitely going to be a movie I'm going to be searching and hunting on VHS for like crazy.
Thanks for watching, guys. We always appreciate the support, and the best way to support the show is by go ahead and watching Silver Bullet. Click that Amazon affiliate link below and enjoy the show.
After watching it, be sure to leave a comment and let us know what you thought of the movie. And as always, the best way to keep up with our content is by subscribing and hitting that notification bell to get quick updates.
Drive-By Movies, that's going to be doing it for this week. Tune in next week for more Direct to Dumpster.